Joining us now from Amman in Jordan is Jonathan Fowler. He's the spokesperson for UNRWA, the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees. Really good to have you back with us, Jonathan. UNRWA has been calling for a ceasefire ever since this war began a little over 2 years ago now. What's your initial reaction to this new ceasefire that's been agreed upon?
I mean, if we didn't have hope, we wouldn't be able to function. And so this apparent deal, this truce, this move towards a ceasefire, I mean, it's a first step. It's an important first step, but it has to be sustainable. It has to be lasting to basically spare the people of the Gaza Strip from this humanitarian catastrophe and allow them to rebuild their lives, which of course is going to be an incredibly long struggle, but room for hope. But of course the implementation and the next steps are going to be absolutely critical.
A key part of this deal, Jonathan, is the delivery of aid into Gaza. In this first phase, some 400 trucks full of humanitarian supplies are expected to be allowed into the enclave. And we know that previously it was your organisation, UNRWA, that was able to distribute this aid through dozens, if not more, distribution centres across the enclave. But UNRWA was stripped of that right, and it's now been the duty of just a handful of aid distribution points run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Have you been told about whether or not UNRWA will once again be allowed to deliver aid to Palestinians in Gaza?
We haven't been told anything on this front, but I want to emphasise that we absolutely must be. I also want to emphasise that we never left. We're still on the ground. We have 12,000 staff who are still continuing to work, providing medical care, other kinds of relief services, sanitation, water distribution. So getting aid across the frontier into the Gaza Strip is essential, of course, but there's already a network there on the ground, and our staff have continued to work. But of course, with little or nothing to distribute, minimal medical supplies. But we are an essential part of the puzzle. We have to be able to do our work because we're the largest United Nations humanitarian agency on the ground, and we always have been.
Well, that's right, because ever since the controversial GHF was the organisation solely responsible for the delivery of aid, we've had more than 1,000 aid seekers being killed in the process. This was a stark contrast to what your organisation was doing with its hundreds of delivery points, peacefully distributing aid to Palestinians across the enclave. Is that an issue that your organisation has been continuing to push throughout the time that it was essentially being told to stop the delivery of aid?
Well, precisely. I mean, we, the rest of the United Nations system, and indeed the entire humanitarian community around the globe has continued to push to be able to do our job on the ground in the Gaza Strip. As you rightly state, the point about the way our aid operations were able to function is we go to where the people in need actually are. We don't require them to go to a handful of locations where they have to walk, many dozens of kilometres if they're able to walk, and at the very real risk of losing their lives, because we've seen these tragedies over and over. I mean, that's not the kind of model that is a humanitarian model. During the ceasefire from January to March this year, the United Nations system was able to massively scale up aid, do its work on the ground, and that's what we have to be able to do again. There's no question about that.
The analysts we've been speaking to have in part credited the growing global pressure on Israel to stop its assault to getting to this point of a ceasefire deal. We know that a number of Israel's Western allies have been a part of that global pressure campaign. To what extent do you believe is that external pressure having on the Israeli government? Do you credit that with what we're seeing today?
I mean, clearly, I'm not in the heads of the policymakers within the government of Israel, but I mean, we have seen movement when pressure has risen, including from allies of the state of Israel. I think also statistics have focused the mind. I mean, for example, we released a study today tracking rises in child malnutrition, completely in line with when aid was either heavily restricted or completely blocked, showing that, in fact, child malnutrition, more than around 55,000 children who are at a massively increased risk of death because of malnutrition, precisely because not enough aid was flowing in or no aid was coming in at all. So those kind of stark statistics, I think, have focused minds around the world and indeed potentially focused minds within the authorities.
OK, Jonathan Fowler, we will have to leave it there. Thank you again for joining us on the program.
Thank you.